I go to the retreat. All right. And the moment I arrive, my luggage isn't there. As you guys
So
remember.
Ken, you've traveled all the way from Kentucky to Ireland, right? For the
Yeah,
first
yeah, yeah,
time?
yeah.
You've been to Ireland before?
Yep. First time been to
Yep.
Ireland. Yeah.
And you lost your luggage?
Well, the airline lost my luggage. I didn't lose anything. Really.
Yeah. And you turned up in a pink hoodie for the week?
Yeah, well, no, I mean, you had such nice people. They were like, they were giving me a pink hoodie. Somebody was like, she was like, hey, you could just have my hoodie. So I wore a pink hoodie for most of it because I didn't have any clothing.
And a
Uh,
blouse.
And blouse,
and a
yeah.
blouse. Oh, I had a blouse. And yeah, and somebody was like, hey, I got some red lipstick. I was like, that's not necessary, but I'll put that on. So I showed up at your retreat, and so then I go to. By the way, that one of the things that I'd seen in the mushroom experience was Kali. I didn't know who Kali was, right? And so I looked it up later. So Gareth, can you explain who Kali is,
So
just briefly?
so okay, so in the Hindu religion, Kali is an aspect of the Divine Mother, and she's the destructive force that wants you to awaken, and she will come in and rip out or remove or chop away whatever is in the way. So she's always depicted with, like a big machete, and she's holding the head of the spiritual seeker, or she's chopped it off. And it's the ego. She's chopped the head off the ego.
Yeah, and then she's like considered by many
Oh,
traditions as
she's
most loving of them
yes,
all.
yeah. She's got your highest. She wants the highest for you. For you,
Yeah,
She's got your highest good at interest, and she's come in and she'll cut away anything that stands in the way of that. But to
yeah,
you, a guy living in this 3D world who's attached to whatever, career, relationships, she's going to cut all that stuff away. Yeah,
and
and it
she
can be
did.
very painful for people. Yeah,
That's the thing, is she knows what's going to take for you. And when I was shown was that was what happened. And she came in and she was like, all those attachments that you had to all the promiscuity in the models and all of that. And then I was an alcoholic for a little while. For a while, because it's a very drinking culture. Addiction to like my Instagram, all those things, right? She was like, not only am I going to make you leave Korea, I'm going to take everything away from you. I'm going to humble you like you've never been humbled before. That's the only way that that's going to happen. Because if I just did that to you and put you back in Kentucky, probably had a lot of money, you would have found a way to go back, move to LA, and do that show over here, right? So I took your money from you too, and I want to make sure I put these teeth in there to put so much pain inside of you that you're going to realize what health really is, and it's going to be part of a bigger mission you just didn't understand at the time. And part of me went back to that when I came back too, and I was like, all right, but it was 5 years and okay, I don't think 1 year could have sufficed, but I don't know. It's a divine plan, right? It's a divine plan. So that was shown to me. And
yeah.
I'm at your retreat. Actually, Eva, can you set the stage? I want to hear from Eva. Eva, set the stage of what this retreat is like.
Yeah, okay. So we were about, I don't know, 30 people. 30 people, most are from
30,
overseas.
34 people.
Yeah, or 34 people,
yeah.
or 34 people. Flying in from overseas, and nearly everybody was staying in this retreat center, a really nice, quiet place in nature, in Ireland, on the hill. Yeah, really, really nice. So quiet, peaceful. The energy there is also really beautiful. I mean, I have to say that in general, Ireland has a very beautiful energy. The country, like just flying in, something is there. I don't know, but it's magical. And then we meet. There is this beautiful meditation hall, and people can choose if they sit on the floor, if they lay down, if they sit in chairs and stuff like that. So everybody picks their spaces. Gareth sits at the front, and then he opens up the retreat and says, it's all about experience. I'm not going to sit here talking to you forever. If you have questions, you can ask questions, but it's all about experiencing, sitting in the energy, allowing the energy to come in, transform your system, and just be in an open, receptive state. So that's basically the introduction. Yeah, and then it starts, and the energies start to build up in the room. Day by day, it's getting stronger and stronger. So what we do is, what Gareth does is he gives Shaktipat, knee Shaktipat, third eye Shaktipat. And then we also do a longer silent meditation with the Sat Force. And so, yeah, so that's that's about the meditations. And then we have lunch together and dinner together, and we have a lot of time to socialize as well. And we sit together in the evening and
hot tubs.
Hot tubs, sauna, hot tub, bonfire, chill in the tea house and just chat. And it was so nice, like just to socialize. A lot of people have very interesting stories, spiritually or just life stories, like you do, Ken. I mean, your story is really extraordinary. Very extraordinary story. And that's just to sum it up very quickly. It's such a beautiful setting to be at, and
it really was. And it was, and maybe, and that's a great description. And we should speak about the kind of people, at least at this retreat. Wow. And they don't have like Instagrams. So they're like, they don't have like YouTube channels. Like, oh, come.
I have an Instagram, Ken.
Yeah. Well, they're at least not addicted to their Instagram.
But maybe Ken, what you want to say is that like when you look at the group, you would think it's a spiritual group, right?
No,
everybody's just very normally dressed, normal behavior. There is no like, it's just, you wouldn't know if you wouldn't know that's a retreat center.
Nobody's wearing spiritual clothes or
nothing.
Yeah.
No, you kind of see some people wearing malas, so that's the only thing that people have. But so it's everybody's very down to earth, very nice, kind, loving, open, fun people. A lot of fun people. Yeah.
But also like of all age groups. I mean, we got one person in the group is like 25. Right? Like she's
22-year-old.
22.
Yeah,
22. You're right. 22. Yeah.
And then the oldest one was 80, I think. One of your retreats. I mean, this one, I think
80. There was an 80-year-old there. Yeah.
So it's beautiful.
Oh, nice. And
it's all about the energy, right? It's the energy starts coming in, and it's like, wow. It's like an intoxicating feeling. It's like you're slightly buzzing from drinking, good wine, or it's just, and it's not related to alcohol in any way, shape, or form, but it's like you feel different when you're in it. It's like a blanket has been put around you. It's palpable. It's almost like you could take a knife and cut down through the air with this energy.
No doubt about that.
Sweet, intoxicating. Yeah, gets into the brain.
And that's in the room, but also like in the let's say the retreat center in general, right? Because we're all there, so the energy is in general around the retreat center for that time, and it's like you can just feel it. It's like everything is flowing. So everything is experienced like a flow. You move out the room, you meet somebody, you have a chat, you move on, then this is happening, you move on. So everything is just flowing. It's a perfect orchestration on this retreat. Everything that's happening, you hear exactly what you need to hear. Some people get triggered because they need to for their growth, and so on. So it's perfect orchestration. Yes,
I was one of them.
You were triggered.
Okay.
I was one of those people that was eventually triggered.
Okay,
like,
tell us. Tell us what your experience. So what started happening, Ken, when you got there?
Yeah, so in the beginning, I was hearing stories of the first meditation. I was like, I don't meditate. So I'm at the retreat, and the first session I'll meditate from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Like,
10 p.m. Yeah.
How am I gonna do this, man? All right. And my business was taking off like it never had right before. And my team's like, why are you going to Ireland to meditate? Do it here. I'm like, it ain't like that, right? I gotta go. And so I put my phone away. I'm not checking any of the stats, right? That was my rule. I'm not checking my phone on my stats, right? And I was meditating, and I would come out of the first meditation, and then people would say, "Oh, that was so strong. Did you feel it?" I was like, yeah. Ken, did you feel it? And I was like, yeah, yeah, a little bit, yeah. It's totally lying. Like for the first 3 days, making shit up. No, I didn't feel anything for the first 3 days. Totally lying. Sorry to the people at the retreat. I was lying to. But I just felt bad. I don't know why I did that. But then on about, I don't know, maybe day 4, I guess. It might have been 3, day 4. And then I started to feel it. Okay. And it was in my crown, like okay, something's happening here, right? And then you went around and you started doing, the Shakti clap with the thumb, right? I didn't feel anything with the knee just yet, right? But then first time, nothing. And then the second time, a little bit. And then the third time, and then you went up to the next person. Okay. Because about 3 minutes about
3 minutes. It depends, because if I sense that something's going on with the person, I might stay a little bit longer just to see what transpires. There may be some sort of clearing that they need, or anything can happen. People can get downloads, and I just sort of intuitively, it's like I don't know what's going on for the person, but all of a sudden it's like, don't leave this person, keep going, put your hand on their back, put your hand on here, top of chest, and you'll see me move my hands around. And sometimes I won't know why I'm doing things. I'm like, okay, I just do it. If I'm like, this is stupid, but I just do it, and I put my hand in, certain areas. So I've obviously, so I did the transmission for you. I moved away. What was going on?
Yeah, it was this amount of energy. It was in my head, like, and I wanted to scream out, but I didn't, because I don't want anybody to hear me. But you have a rule. You're like, let it out, guys. You say that like every day, guys, let it out, scream, do whatever's got to happen. Like, and then some people do.
Yep.
Right. So there's just all kinds of noises, Viking noises are going on, right? Like, people are laughing hysterically. Things are happening, like
crying.
It's like a madhouse. If you didn't know what this was and you peeked in the window, you'd be like, what is that?
What kind of mumbo jumbo voodoo shit is going on in there, right? Yeah, and I was like, this isn't a silent retreat at all. Although it's silent for a lot of it. Don't get me wrong. It's not screaming the whole time, but things come up. And you made an announcement. I don't know. Do you remember the announcement that you had made about me?
No.
Because you'd done it and I held back, and then you made an announcement the next session. Do you remember?
No, tell me.
You had said, guys, and I'm not calling Ken out, right? Although you totally called Ken out. But you said, I'm not calling Ken out. But there was a moment when you could have released, and you didn't. Like, let that shit
Actually,
go.
I remember now,
Yeah. And you're like, let that shit go, man. It's a free space. It's open. Nobody here's going to judge you. Look, we got Viking noises right next to you. Come on, man. Like, nobody's judging over here. And so then you came back the next Shakti thought, and it's twice as strong as the time before. It's like, then it just like erupts out of me, right?
I remember you were screaming. You were really, really screaming.
Like I've never screamed before. Oh my God. But I didn't care.
Yeah.
I had to go somewhere.
But you were just one from like so many other people screaming, like in the the audience, like all the other people were like, yeah, whatever,
Yeah. And so the funny thing is, I don't remember Ken screaming whatsoever. So that'll tell you, this guy screamed his head off, and I don't even notice that you're screaming your head off, because there's loads of people doing it. So it's just like, it's just another person screaming, just doing what they're doing. Yeah.
That's a good
water off a duck's back for me. Yeah.
And it's not like, and it felt open after that. I was like, oh, this is a very open space. Nobody said anything. Nobody even came up to me after, like, dude, why'd you do that? Right? No, they were like, dude, sounds like you had a great release, dude. That's awesome. Like, hell yeah, you're getting something out of this. It's like, yeah. So then the day after that is when I started to feel the energy, and I no longer had to lie to people at your retreat. And it would come in, and I remember there was one right after lunch that we were at, and it was just like, and I had to lay down, okay, as I was in the back. And then when it was over, I was laying down because I put on my eye mask every day, right? Just so I don't like to have a visual field. And I looked at my hands through my eye mask, and there's this aura on my hands, and I got this download of information. Like, you remember all those times that people said you can heal yourself? If I do that, I get how healers do this. And then as the retreat went on and on, I just felt it and feel it, and I would feel it, and then I would feel it when I'm walking down the street, and then I would feel it like everywhere. It was growing and growing, but it wasn't to a point where I was like, oh my God. This, right? But it was just like, oh shit, this set force is real. And the beautiful part about the end of it all was like, I learned each person there is very high level, right? There were people there that are energy healers, like you cannot believe, man. And at the end of the night, we'd all have this little chat. And that was some of my favorite parts. We're all chatting in this beautiful room, asking questions to Gareth. Eva would ask questions in the consciousness and, for people, into like, let me see if I can find an answer.
That was the party trick.
Yeah, they were all party chicks.
That was the party trick.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. But it was so much fun, though, wasn't it? It was so much fun.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I loved it. And so then the very last day was KAP, K-A-P. And can you explain, one of you guys explain KAP? So I think Diane was on the show recently.
Yes. So Kundalini activation. And it's a modality. It's awakening Kundalini. But it's a little bit different. They use very loud music. People lay on the floor. She moves her hands around. It just activates the Kundalini. A lot of shaking, trauma, releases come up. So we did that on the last. So I brought Diana in as a treat for everybody on the last day, just to really, mix things up. And if it wasn't strong enough up until that point, then, we'd really blast you with the. Yeah, so that's what happened with you, Ken, right?
Yeah, you definitely capped it off, no pun intended. And she's walking around, you lay down, and she's got this music going, right? And
she vocalizes, right? She makes these clicking noises. She almost sounds like the Predator. It's like, and she starts whistling, and she does screaming, and she'll see the It's like she intuitively sees stuck energy in people and she'll know to go to that person and she'll start vocalizing. And it's almost like she's giving you permission then to release that. It's like, oh, okay, I feel safe. This woman is here. She's nurturing me. She's giving me permission to bring it out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a safe space.
Yeah.
And she has a method. She'll come up and she'll do this, or she'll like rub on your chest like at a specific point, or she'll touch it. And so when she first did it, I was like, oh man, there's something there. And then the second time she did, I was like, oh shit. And then the third time that she came up, she goes onto my, where was it? It might have been I think it was in my chest or in my sacral. And she puts her hand down and she goes, and then I'm like, the energy is coming up and I'm like, no, yelling right back in her face. Not like just because, it's because there is this big baseball size of energy that is awakening. And I'm like screaming because I'm like, what the hell? This can't be real. And then bam. And then it hits me. And then the Kundalini was alive. But it was so painful. Like, this isn't forever. It's not how it happens with everybody, right? It's a really big disclaimer. But it was so painful that it was shifting. All right. And I was like, I couldn't move, man. I couldn't bend over. I started to get really hot. So I took my shirt off. I was like, I can't handle this. Like, what the hell have I done? And then when it was over, everybody had left. And I'm in the back. You guys know what I'm talking about. I'm like, I look like a prisoner of war.
Yeah, so I'm just going to describe a little bit how Ken looked like. So he was laying in the back of the room on the floor, shirtless, with his
eye mask on.
blindfold on, and the hands behind the back. And when I looked at him, to me, the image just came in. That's Batman. Batman, he was on a mission, but he fell, tied up and in prison.
Captured and in prison.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's how you looked like. It was so funny. You were just laying there, breathing heavily.
Oh my God. Yeah. It was. I didn't expect that. I'm of the mentality. It's like, bring it on. Right? I was like, Outback and Kundalini B, whatever. I didn't know anything about Kundalini, right? And I didn't know that once the cat's out of the bag, that cat's out of the bag. You can't put that back, right? And it's so painful that night I went up to you, Eva. I don't know. Do you remember this? Do you remember when I went up to you that night?
Yeah. So we were sitting in the tea house. Yeah. We were sitting in the tea house and then everybody, asked questions and I was just answering them. And you were like, you have this pain in like this. It was beside the solar plexus or somewhere in that area. And then you were like, can you move this out? And then I helped to move it out.
You told me what it was. Do you remember what you said?
Yeah, it was fear of dying. A lot of fear of dying. It was just like, very dense energy there in that area. Yeah.
Yeah, you had said, I think you had said, this isn't just any fear of dying. This was a very extreme fear of dying for a long period of time. As you know from my story, that's exactly what it was. You didn't know that. You didn't know.
No, I didn't know. No.
And that was the third stamp, maybe fourth or fifth stamp of this shit's real, right? You know what I'm saying? Like you said, and that's exactly what it was. And then you and then you helped move it, right? Like you were like, let me help there, and you went in, and it started bubbling, like, and that was manageable. It's like, God, and there's like the eighth stamp of approval, like that this shit's real. Wow. Okay. So then the retreat was basically, I think that was the end of the retreat, right? That was it. And I got my luggage on the last day. That finally came, destroyed.
It's totally destroyed. Oh my God. Never seen anything like it.
And I was like, okay, so I went to this retreat. I feel the transmission. I get it. I got something called Kundalini. All right. That's going to be great. I said goodbye to everybody. Then me and my friend that invited me to go there, we were off to Greece.
Yeah, incredible.
Let's go to Greece. Let's go to Crete. And there was, again, I'm giving you about 30% of everything that happened, just for sake of time. So we go to Crete, and we are traveling around, and then the energy. See, here's the thing: is the energy. I thought it was like, oh, you get the transmission, and then you go. No, that shit carries. Explain how that carries with you. Like, can you explain that, Gareth?
Yeah. So once you've been again, right? You've had an influx of spiritual energy into your system, right? Given Shaktipat, right? It's like there's been an injection that's gone into your system, expanded. You, as the container, have been pushed beyond your limits, right? So the edges, it's like a bottle under pressure, has been expanded wider. So when you leave, right, you've now left. Your system is shaken with energy. You've been filled right up to the top. Not only that, but the sat force, or the supramental force, you've now been introduced to it because you've been sitting in that energy with me for 7 days. It then starts to follow you around. It's put a tracker on you, right? So no matter where you go to in the world, it's watching you, like the government in Korea, right? They've got your phone track. The sat's the same. So it knows you, right? And starts watching you. It starts to get to know your routine. So it's like it starts coming in at random times during the day, right? Especially if I'm doing sessions with people. So you could be off in Greece. I'm doing sessions with people. I'm pulling in that energy for that person. But it's not only going to that person online, it's now going out to all the people that have been on that retreat because they've been introduced. So that energy now is coming down into the top of your head, into your system, and it's trying to pull you into meditation every day, trying to work on your system. It's trying to divinize your system by entering the cells. And not only that, but it then starts to pull the Kundalini up as well. So not only have you your own Kundalini trying to rise, but now the Sat is trying to pull that up. Yeah. So you got a lot going on.
Dude, I did not know any of that. I was like, bring it on, baby. Like, this is raising your level of consciousness, because I think that you had said that
this is raising your level of consciousness on steroids, Ken.
It is so true, because here's what I tell people. I'm like, you could meditate. You could meditate, right? There are people in your group who are meditating for 20 years, 10 years. I go to you and Eva, and it's like, what is happening within a short period of time? Like, like level of consciousness is just like, so I tell people you could meditate, or you could do a meditation with them, right? Even if you start with the free meditations, or do the ones that you get the transmissions that you have on YouTube. Just blast yourself with that, heal yourself.
Yeah, and let me just quickly put a disclaimer in there as well, Ken, right? Because a lot of people will, might think, oh, this is very irresponsible of people just throwing themselves into spirituality and, getting blasted by all of these energies, and, they're not ready for them, right? Generally, what I see is that people who aren't ready for these energies, they're just not affected by them. They don't feel them. They might come, they might sit there in my meditation group, they just leave because it does nothing for them, right? Just because you hadn't been meditating, it wasn't in your past, you weren't spiritual, you didn't have a practice, that doesn't mean that your level of consciousness isn't high, right? It just means that you came into this life, you got sidetracked, right? You could have had previous lives where you were, meditating in an ashram, you were getting transmissions, you were enlightened in some lifetimes. That doesn't mean that you're just brand new to this, right? It just means you got sidetracked, right? It just, when you came to me, you're ready. You've turned up here. People don't come to me by mistake. I don't get random people coming to my meditations and my retreats by mistake going, oh, I thought this was, crochet. Something is calling them. There's an energy connection that's made. As soon as you learn about me, you read my book, all of a sudden them energies start going in, working on your system, preparing you for this. And then all of a sudden it's nudging you to go further and further.
That makes so much sense, especially now. And I think it's important to note that this isn't some ego thing, because I know you don't have an ego, but it's not like, some people maybe hear that and say, oh, it's my energies, they really work. And if you don't come in, and if it doesn't work for you, it means you're not ready for me. It's not like that. That's not at all what you're saying, right? It's not like, get out of here. Like, you're not ready. It's not like that. It's
just not interested.
It's just not interested. Yeah.
They're not interested in it.
Not interested in it. Yeah. Yeah. And it's just, that's a really good point. And, there was something called spiritual courting, which I learned about, right? And so it's important to note that about the Sat force as well. And spiritual courting is when there's a lot of people that you go to who, you get this force in, but you're courted to millennia of masters who have this energy, and you can't turn it off, right? Like you might not have control. It's always there. It's always being courted, right? It's courted, and it cannot be a good thing for everybody, right? It's sent people into psychosis. There is that element of it, and so I'd ask other people, and I think we can ask you right now as well. Is the Sat force a form of courting? You can turn it off at any time, right? Like you can turn it off at any time.
It's not courting. So I see what the Sat is as the absolute, the power of the absolute, right? It has found a way into creation, right? To create change, dynamic change, right? It wants to come in. It wants to help you, wants to reunite the part of you that's at the center of you, your soul, with where it came from. So it's coming into creation. It's gently pulling you back over time. It doesn't happen in one go, right? It doesn't just happen. This is weeks, months, years for some people, where this force is like bringing them into deep meditation. So it's not courting. In a way, I'm the conduit, right? I've pierced the veil, right? I've merged with that Brahman, and then I've re-entered creation. And as I've re-entered creation, I've pulled in with me a conduit for the power of that absolute to come down into creation, right? Because this is a sealed system. It's an experiment, right? Our reality is an experiment. It's a learning lab, and it's just sealed off, and we're left here to just evolve by ourselves naturally, right? But as we start to progress spiritually, right, we can then help others, right? So the ones that have advanced now can reach back in and say, hey, I figured out this. I'm going to share this with you. I'm going to help you, right? So what happened to me was I got out and re-entered and pulled that force in. Now that force is able to work on the people who are connected with me.
There it is. It is. And it's not
nothing. There's no ego. It's not that I'm doing anything. It's just I introduce you. You just come along. I say, Ken, this is the Sat force. Shake hands. Off you go. And it starts working on you, right?
100%. But it's also that you have to play along. Like when it comes in, you have to sit down. So it's not like it's gonna. Yeah, of course you can just ignore it, and then eventually it will leave basically. But you have to sit when it comes in. Let it work on your system. And also, in the beginning you said the system gets blasted. Yes, it's true. There's a lot of energy coming in, but it's still happening in that amount that you can handle, that your system can handle. So it couldn't be too much. So it's always about still a gradually growth. And it's a path. It just takes some time as well. Yeah.
I think grounding is important though, because as I'll get into in a minute, I did need some grounding at some point because I think my crown was filled with a lot of transmission energy, but I had also, mixed a couple of things as well. But like I think grounding is important to make sure that it flows freely through the chakra system, right?
When Kundalini is active, you have raw energy. It feels like you've been plugged into a power point.
Absolutely.
100%. Your head is buzzing from it. I remember when I received Shaktipat first, for days afterwards, I touched a car, I was getting electrocuted. Anything metal, I was getting shocks. So,
but that's different. But that's like your own life force. It's the Kundalini. So that's something different you talked about before. We were talking about transmission. So just, that listeners understand the difference.
Yeah.
Right. That's important to know. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Okay. So that's great. Thanks for explaining that, guys, because I think that's important to know. And so I'm back in Crete, and we're traveling around all these this is when the Kali bad things start happening. For my highest good, I found out later. This is probably maybe, besides why I went to you and all the things that we just talked about, an equally as important aspect of everything. This is extremely important. I'm in Greece, and forgot about the retreat. I'm in Greece, so like beautiful women everywhere, and this is the most beautiful country. It's so romantic. When I'm with my friend, it's like, oh, you should have brought a lady, right? But it was so amazing. I can't believe that we're there, and we are driving around, and it's just hitting me like, oh, we must be doing a meditation right now. And the person I was with, he was like, every day, it's like, we're going to do an even meditation, Gareth meditation. So we'd stop and we would do it. He always made time for it. And we're at this place. We're driving down the road in the most beautiful countryside I've ever seen. Nobody's around. And then we pass by a sign that says, you're entering the town of Cali. And we got to go pull over into this town. And that's interesting. It's called Cali. And we get in, and there's this tiny little chapel. And I go inside of this chapel, and I sit down. And then the Kundalini erupts inside of me like I cannot describe. And then it starts moving me. Like my body is like moving left and right, and I'm crying and I'm purging. And my friend is like, whoa, man, it's happening. He goes, you see what I'm saying? I was like, what is happening? It's just from my childhood is coming up. I'm like, wow, my God. And I'm in this tiny little chapel crying. And it's like, we got to go, man. So then we get out of Cali, which is so apropos. And then we start to venture on to more parts of Crete. Again, more and more of it's happening stronger and stronger and stronger. We get to Athens because we're going to go up to go see mainland. And we get separated just for a short period of time. As we are separated, coming up the escalator of the elevator from the airport, I got mugged.
Oh, wow. In Greece?
In Greece, yeah. And so I'm like, so it ruins everything. I don't have my ID. I don't have anything, right? So it's like, God. So I go back to the hotel.
That's Cali.
That's Cali. Yeah. Sean, then out later. And I gotta work. I gotta work my job, right? I gotta work this job, But
your phone is gone?
No, I have my phone. It's just like my ID, my money, my credit cards, all that stuff. And I have my phone and another little small suitcase. And I go to sign in to go to work to do this job thing, to do business, right? My business before I had a job and business went down 800%. Just like that. We went from records to nothing. I'm like, oh my God, that's not good. And then the laptop, go to sign in for an important meeting, nothing. Wi-Fi stopped. Okay. So they're angry, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I keep going on. Every place that I go, my brand new laptop, right before a very important meeting of an initiative in artificial intelligence that I had introduced to the company, laptop, brand new, shuts down right before. Working all day, bam, shuts down right before. Okay. What the, and this happens 7 times. The Wi-Fi won't work. The laptop's broken. And it's right before a meeting, right? Things are happening. I don't understand. Right? I get so, I went for this meditation retreat, like, you got to be Zen, like, let it go, right? Like, I can't. So angry, like they're launching investigation into me. I went from the top employee to, we're going to fire your ass. Why are you missing all of these meetings, right? They are so, I'm like, how am I supposed to explain to them? What am I supposed to say? It's the SAT force. I'm like, well, what do you can't say that, right? Like, you can't just say that. And so it's all, my life is falling apart. I get mugged. that happens, I'm gonna lose my job. My business is nothing anymore. Nothing. It's gone. It's gone. It's all gone. And then I get out, and then these bad things are just happening left and right. I go back to America, they lose my luggage again. Lost my luggage again, right?
Wow.
If that's gone. I get back the whole unit. Yeah.
And you're not selling you're not selling my retreats here to the
Oh my goodness.
We're gonna get to that though. We're gonna get to that.
Go on.
Yeah. So the whole place, the aircon goes off, and it's 85 degrees every single day, and I work remotely at home. And so it's 85, they can't fix it. The windows are set up to where you can't put anything in there. I'm dying of heat, right? And I can't handle it. I just can't handle it. And then I get a phone call that my best friend is in a critical condition and she might die. And what the hell? I get all this bad news from home. I could go on for weeks about all the bad things that are happening. I can't handle it. Okay. Meanwhile, transitions are happening. I'm like, this is strong. The Kundalinis. I didn't know you could talk to your Kundalini back then. You could say, hey, just take it easy.
Yeah.
Just take it easy, right? Just take it easy. I didn't know that. So Kundalini is like going, and then I found out later. Doing a thing. Found out later that I had from the teeth, the root canals, the Koreans didn't do them right. I have long root canals. So I'm American. They're actually really, really long for Americans. They went in, they didn't have the instruments go all the way through. They didn't do it right. So I had for many years 7 infections that were all inside of my face that were blowing me up. It was eating away into my bone. My face is on fire. And that explains so much. My face was just, I couldn't control it anymore. I'm like, what happened? I started to believe, oh my God, Eva and Gareth ruined my life. And I also made the mistake of that all-in personality is like, I know, I'll just do more transmissions from other people and that'll cure it, right? So I'm doing like everything that's out there that I know is like really high level. I'll do this one from this person, I do one from this person, right? And I'm getting blasted with 3. I'm like, let me just blast this shit with, it's called divine light. It's got to have my best interest. And I'm also emailing Mother Mira like every other day, right? Which, by the way, when you email Mother Mira, explain who Mother Mira is real quick, Eva. Can you explain who she is?
Yeah, Mother Mira is an Indian woman. She lives in Germany and she's an avatar, so an incarnation of the Divine Mother. And yeah.
You've been to her and she was part of your spiritual path.
Both of ours, mm-hmm.
Yeah. Big influence. Mm-hmm.
And when you email her, she doesn't actually she doesn't sit there reading all these emails, by the way. Your email goes to whatever part of consciousness and you get what you ask for with Mother Mira,
Yeah, that's
so and and that's also it may not be what you want, but it's what you need is what you get, right? And you got it. Yeah,
I did. You know what I was saying to her? I was like, hey, Mother Mira, I really want to change. I want out of this job. I don't like this job. I wanted to have my own business. And that happened. Right? And that happened, right?
Be careful what you ask for.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. So I'm emailing her every day and I'm like, hey, listen, I want to like purge some of this stuff out of me. I don't want to have these negative energies. I'm all in. Just get this stuff out of me. Just help me get this out of me, right? And then when I sent that to her, woke up, I have so much energy. I got to sit down. Oh, no, this is too much. And then a 6 to 8 hour, I don't remember how much time, Kundalini purge. Energy so strong that it is just erupt. And again, I did not know you could talk to it. And it is erupting inside of me. And this purge was insane. It was like just, the energy came up, and it came into my throat chakra. And it was like, there's like a ball of light, fluffy fire. And it just made its way up and it just erupted out of me. And as it's erupting, I'm screaming like I've never screamed before. And then all of these downloads of like, oh, you never processed your brother's death, and now you're going to do it. And it went through all of these things. Remember that time those bullies beat you with baseball bats? You're going to have to process that. And I didn't think it was going to end. I was like, okay, that must be it. I got up and got some water. No, it's not over. 6 to 8 hours later, and I had the most amount of clarity I think I'd ever had in my life. Like I was like, oh, I was like, I get it. Wow. And so I come back, and then 2 days later, I'm still confused at this point about what you guys actually offer. I should have probably researched a little bit more. And so I'm still doing a couple of transmissions, and you're not supposed to mix transmissions, all right? At least not a lot. I mean, can we talk about that?
Yeah, it's not that you're not supposed to mix them, and we spoke a little bit about the transmission you were doing, and they're all fine. They're all great, right? But when you've got all of these different energies that do different things in your system coming in, like it's like if it's very hard to discern what's doing what if something is off, which one is doing this? How do I stop it? Now you've got all of these different. The only way you can go in and fix that is by stopping all of them, because you don't know which one is doing it, right? You need to stop all of them, and then you need to introduce one back in at a time. So you say, okay, stop them all for a week, and then I'll introduce Eva back in. Fine. Meditating with Eva for a week, everything's fine. Okay, let's put Gareth back in. Okay, Gareth's back in. Fine. And then you go until you find, oh, here's one that I do. Okay, now I can feel it's not agreeing with the other energies, and I feel a little bit out of whack.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. And these are great ones, by the way. These have helped a lot of people, right? Yeah. We could name them. I don't know if we should, but like there was one that I had done where I was really deep into it, and it's related to, Christ. And I went in really, really deep. And again, infecting my entire face, lots of stress, super heat in my apartment, all the stress. I don't have a job anymore. Like my business is falling apart. I don't know what's going on. Blasted myself with transmission. Oh my God, Eva and Gareth ruined my life. That's what's going on inside of my head. And then I thought that I'd reached this moment where I was like, oh my God, I think I'm the second coming of Christ in a little way, not like his full blown way, but it was like, oh my God, like people talk about Christ consciousness. If there ever was, I was basically born of a virgin. My mom was like the most holy person of all time, super Catholic. I was the most Catholic person ever. I was super devoted to Jesus for the longest time. And if he's ever was going to come back, it'd be a great fucking story to come back to, right? Like, what a cool story, And, this would be it. That was what my ego was telling me. It's like, yeah, this is it, right? Okay. And then and explain that, Gareth, like how that can happen.
So what I just come in and say is that when these energies and Kundalini starts awakening in your system, right, you can feel incredible, right? Your third eye can open up. You can have an influx of spiritual information coming in, spiritual energy. You start feeling that you're great. You're connected to everything. The ego is still rampant. It's still there. It's still very dominant. It's like, I always say to people, be small, stay as small, be tiny, be humble, don't make any claims. The first thing that happens, what I see with people is when Kundalini wakens up, they start thinking they're enlightened. They start thinking they have all of this information coming in. They're the next coming, right? And I've seen it, and I think you reached out to me and we spoke about it, and I said I see this happening quite a bit, yeah. Especially with men.
Yeah. Especially, we think we become the savior or something at some point. Like, oh, I get it. No one else gets it. Like, I have something that nobody else has,
And I get it. Because
you had it as well a little bit.
I mean, when I started having out-of-body experiences, it was like, this was the most incredible thing. I was like, I'm so lucky. I can't believe it. I have, these gifts to leave my body. I can go wherever I want. But your ego is feeding off it. It's like, wow, it's such a great story. I can tell people all about this stuff. There's no enlightenment there. There's no awakening there yet. It's just, you've just got opened up to other realities.
Yeah. And then my ego was trying to make up what that is. Like, this is the story, right? That has to be what it is. It's convinced that that's what it is, it came out of it, but it didn't last. I thought it was like Christ for a minute. My ego was like, what the hell? That's crazy, right? And then the most powerful thing in my life happened. So 2 days later, and this is like 6 weeks after the retreat, by the way. Okay, this isn't months or years after. So, and I've never meditated before. Don't know shit about any of this. And went in, and it's so strong again. I sit down on the couch, and I'm like, I just know. You just know I'm not gonna be able to do any work. I'm sick to my stomach when I try to go up to the laptop to do anything. I just got to sit down and meditate. And I can't explain it. You know what I'm talking about, even though right? You're like, gotta do it. It's what's happening. All right. I sat down, and then I wasn't thinking this thought, but this happened. I had said, everything is energy. I'd never said that before. And everything is energy. And then suddenly that thought started reverberating into something that was some echo chamber somewhere. And then slowly the thoughts were fading. Everything is energy. Everything. And then the thoughts are going away. And then this little, I can't describe it, but it was like a zipper. It was like, and I wasn't Ken anymore. I wasn't Ken. And I was something else. And I'd seen everything that made sense. I'd seen the game. The game of life, what it's for. I'd seen it specific to me. And I just was like, that's the game? That's the game. Can you explain the game?
So, okay, so listening to what just happened, it sounds like awareness became aware of itself. Very similar to what I talk about in my awakening, where it felt like Velcro ripped in my mind. And it was brought about by something very similar to what you were doing. You were making a statement. Everything was energy. And all of a sudden, it's like self-inquiry, right? I made the statement that everything I'm witnessing is it's not outside, right? There is nothing outside. Everything is existing within my consciousness. Reality exists within what I am. And to a human, right, who identifies as a body, mind, I'm separate from everybody else, not only had you been receiving these transmissions and these healings, so they're sort of like drying out the kindling, the firewood. You're drying it out with the transmissions, and then all of a sudden, you gave it the spark by using self-inquiry. You
what it was?
You gave it the spark. You had done the work with the transmissions, and then you had made that statement, which was the spark, and then the awareness becomes aware of itself, right? Everything is energy, and it sees itself as no longer a body, no longer the ego, no longer the identification, with this. Yeah,
I didn't know the self-inquiry part.
Self-inquiry is basically like it's like a stick, right? That you just keep poking the fire with, and eventually, the fire burns the stick up as well. So you're using the mind. The mind is questioning itself. It's kind of like, and the mind eventually like burns up with its own questions.
Yeah. No, yeah. That's such a great analogy. Oh yeah, that's exactly what happened. That's 100% what it was. And it was like these downloads again. This was the ultimate. This is way more downloads than the mushrooms. This was way more than anything else. This was like truth with a capital T, understanding with a capital U, right? And it was like, this is what life is. Here is why your life. It even it was showing me like, it was so odd. It was like you chose to even look a certain way so that you would be able to do things over in South Korea. We planted inside of you this like, I fucking hate Kentucky. I don't know why I gotta leave here. I'm so different than my 6 brothers and sisters. Like it just said like there's a reason why all that happened, and here's why. Here's why. And it was all, it's like, and it just was the most validating shit, right? And it was like unmistakable.
Supreme knowledge flooded in. That's exactly what happens. Yeah.
Eva, did you have this as well? Did you have this moment?
Not so profound. It was more gradual for me. It wasn't so profound. I had other shifts that were really profound, but not this one. Yeah. But I really like what you say, that it was like a lot more coming in and a lot more profound than the mushrooms. And it was just by receiving transmissions and meditating, I really, really like that you shared this, because, I know a lot of people who are taking all sorts of things to have these openings, and they might have them, for a little while, and then they, goes back to normal. And here you have it. It's even more profound, and it stays as well, right? So I love that you shared this.
And sorry, just to jump in there really quick. I mean, it's not that I'm against people taking psychedelics or mushrooms or whatever. It's like, okay, if it's a tool, right? It's a tool. You take them, it prizes the mind open. You get a glimpse of something much greater than yourself, right? Wow, this is real. This stuff is real, and you don't. The trick is not to stay on the train when you go by your stop, right? You have to get off. So you try them, they prize the mind open, you see that there's a greater reality than this, but the trick then is to get off at your stop, right? And then do the work. Don't keep going back, taking them, wanting to have them experiences, because they just lead to a dead end eventually.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And again, it goes back to Tom Campbell. That's what he says. He says, get it in if you have to, get it in your experiential data set of what that is. Otherwise, it's just going to be a conceptual thing. Oh, my friend told me that. I've studied it in every single book. I get it. Okay, I get it. But when it's like blasted into you, and I think that's like a great, psychedelic means mind manifest. It's just your mind that does something, right? And when it goes into you, it forces you, and Dr. Hawkins says that like it opens up your channel so that new energy
opens up pathways. Yeah.
It's like a cheat code. It's like, bam, let's do that. Okay, you get it now. Now let's start the real process. Now let's do the real work, right? And I think every person that goes to your group would agree with that. I don't think there's a single person at your group that's they have done probably psychedelics at some point, but it opened them up to the point to where they understood that this isn't the ultimate answer, and it's more powerful, as I said, like it's because we do the mushrooms and stuff. I say, oh, you can have that little bit of 5% or 10% or whatever. Like, oh, that was just the mushrooms, right? That's a cool experience. But when it happens to you sober, and it's even more powerful, you can't go back from it, like it's just so unmistakable, right? Wow, man. And so when that happens, I remember I was like, it wasn't really thought. It was like, hey, it was gone. It was like itself had come forward and was like, hey, like, doing a good job, like, check it in, like, you're doing a great job, here's everything, like, here's why. And then I was like, I want to stay here forever. I can't wait to stay here forever, because then I'm going to know all the time that it's all just a game, and it's just a cosmic play, as Alan Watson talked about. I totally get what he's talking about. I'm back to normal. God damn it. Like, wow, I thought I was going to be there forever. I was so convinced I was going to be there forever, and then 30 minutes later, it was gone, right? And why is that? Why can't I stay there forever?
You can, okay, so firstly, your level of consciousness is probably not ready for that sort of information and power that's just been handed to you. So it's like, what happens normally is you get a massive opening, right? You see something much greater than what you were. It's like, wow, this stuff is real. You get all the knowledge coming in, and then the aperture of the camera closes down, right? Firstly, your nervous system isn't ready, right? You haven't processed trauma in your system, right? It's still all in there. So your awakening will then drop back down, right? To baseline self-realization, whatever, right? So you're probably different after that experience, right? There's probably a sense of So then this is the very same thing what happened with me. Then it took 5 years. So you get a glimpse of the end game, right? Closes back down, you fall back down, and then you have to then go through that awakening step by step. But it's not a step by step. It's more like a retracing back to the ocean of where you came from. It's not that you're gaining anything. You're not getting it's almost like you're remembering what you are. Stuff has been revealed to you. Nothing new is coming in. You're having stuff revealed. Oh, it's like almost like a coming home, right?
Yeah, and you start to see the unity of you and everyone else, and you understand the game way more. I cannot do shit that I don't like to do anymore. Like I can't even be bothered to be around the people who are like really negative, and like I can't even I can't watch sports. Like it's like materialism is like get that out of here. Like, it's just like my body, and it's not like I'm thinking that. My body is saying and forcing it. Like, it's like, dude, I feel like shit when like old material ways are coming into my life. So the number of things that have dropped away from my life, it's like Ken 2.0. But it's like, I got to pick up all these pieces but it's so much more beautiful and it's so much more rewarding and fulfilling because fulfillment is starting to come, you know?
So Ken, there's as you're going through an awakening, right? There's three energies. They're called the three gunas that are at play in the universe, and one of them is sattvic energy, and it basically comes in and it's conductive to like meditation, nice energy, spiritual, and that's what your system is craving for, right? The other one is tamasic energy, and the other one is rajasic energy. Rajasic energy is the drive, entrepreneurship. You know, you want to achieve things, and then the other one is inertia. It's, you know, going backwards, right? So what's happening now is that your awakening is calling for you to be in that sattvic energy, be around positive people, you know, nice energy places, not go to bars, not watch sport. That's what's happening. That's what your body is crying out for, your system.
Makes so much sense because it's not just like the bars and like the certain girls that I used to date, like that can't even be bothered with a lot of the things that I used to do with all that, the shopping and the 5-star dinners that the girls that really wanted back in the day. Like I can't. It's like, what? I don't get it anymore. Like I just don't. I was like, how is that even that person? And then the entrepreneurship has taken off because I was doing things to make money before, as you were doing with your business.
Yep.
Right. When you think about most businesses, people don't actually give two shits about their business. They care about the money, which then leads to copulence because they buy into this end goal of materialism, right? So they can show off on their Instagram or whatever they may be, and then they die 80 years later. Okay, whatever, right? Because they're shooting for 80 years of things. And it's like, now it's like my soul or somebody's like, no, dude, you're shooting for the infinite, right? And that other shit pales in comparison, right? And I can't even go back, and I don't want to go back, right? If fulfillment is coming in and life purpose is like really starting to like hammer inside of me, and it's not like I'm like asking for it. These people are coming into my life out of nowhere, man. These synchronicities are like on fire. And it's like people writing me like, hey, dude, I got this thing. Hey, I got this thing. It's like, what the hell? And it's just the higher self is coming forward. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know what higher self was before. It's like, oh, I totally get what that is now. Like, that's just that. I'm getting like access to information, like more and more and more of like what I need to do. And it's like not talking to me like this. It's talking to me like, here's an idea. Yeah. The last meditation I did with you, Gareth, I told you this. It was barely meditating. It was non-stop ideas of boop, 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 boop. That never happens to me. And they're great ideas. Not like, I'm going to start a new fork. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's real ideas with real fulfillment. It's going to help a lot of people. But me specifically, can execute on because of XYZ.
And I think, Ken, part of it is that consciousness or the larger consciousness system sees you as useful. Right? You're useful to it because it's using us to evolve, and it wants players that are team players, right? We're not set out for me and mine. We're here to make change in the world, right? And once it sees that, and like it knows you better than you know yourself, right? So it knows when you're being genuine, right? Because you can fool yourself and you can fool a whole lot of people, but you can't fool the larger consciousness system, right? And the Divine Mother, right? You can't fool them, right? So it sees that you're a team player, you want to help, and it's like, okay, you've got a particular set of skills that's very useful to us at this moment in time, right? All of a sudden, we've got AI coming on board. Consciousness will use whatever it can to waken up people, right? So it's like it's bringing you in on this.
That's so beautiful because that's exactly how it feels. The way that I feel is different. There's no mistaking that. Energies, you can't mistake that. I should say this as well. Every single person at the retreat with you guys, I've worked with you guys, and they have said, I've been to a lot of people. No one's like these guys, right? I was meditating for a number of years. Now it's expedited. There are people who are spiritual healers whose powers have 10x'd. And again, it's not going to happen to everybody, but I'm just telling you stories of people who have said, since I have been going to Gareth and Eva, like there's nothing else like it. it's just 100 different stamps of this shit's real. My life had fallen apart, and now it is starting to formulate back up again, right? So after that supreme being or whatever that was, I guess it's a form of samadhi, you had said, maybe, or the self waking to the self.
Yeah.
That experience.
Yes. Yeah, the spiritual awakening can. Yeah. That was a snap.
Okay. Yeah. After that, I was like, okay, what do I do with that? Right? What do I do with that? And I had started to get some grounding, right, from some other people. Because at this point, I still was like, I don't want to do any more transmissions, and that's why I didn't message you. I should have messaged you. Should have done a lot of different transmissions. And I was like, I need to ground. And I went to somebody who was a very, very high level person, and she grounded me, like over the fucking phone. It was incredible. Like over the phone, it was like, whoop. I was like, whoa, that's incredible. Another high level person. And so then I went back to you guys and I wrote you, Gareth, and I said, listen, Gareth, I'm sorry I haven't reached out, and here's what's been going on. And then you sent me a voicemail and you were like, that's because you got blasted for 7 days. And here's all these things are happening. I wish you reached out. I could have done XYZ. And and so I say all of this because one,
but there are no mistakes either, Ken. So you had to go through that journey by yourself. There's no mistakes, right?
I couldn't agree more, right? Because the lessons that I learned during the Kundalini purge, during the awakening, even during the ego telling me stories, and that's what you had said in the
It's all important.
You had said all that's important, and it was meant to be, but like, you are pure awareness, and just the mind will make up stories, and it is all just stories. Just remember, all just stories, and that is the conclusion. There's 100 other things, but the conclusion to the story is I thought it was important to tell everyone about, like, as a beginner going in, and I think it's important to tell a story. There's pitfalls in the story. There is, there's a lot of learning lessons, and it also speaks volumes to how real all of this is, and how to go through it responsibly, but also to understand that I healed in a way. All that neurotoxic attack, all of that, it was for a reason, but it's gone. Not directly but like, it put into place things that just started coming. Like, it's out of nowhere. This dentist is like, oh, I found out what it is. It's out of nowhere. He's like, oh, it's an infection. No other. I would have 17 different dentists. They didn't see that. Right. And just out of nowhere.
But that's also something what these transmission are doing. Like, they go into a system, they heal the system, and they also direct you exactly where you need to go and people you need to meet and stuff like that to become your true natural self, to become more love, light, and truth, So yeah, that exactly happened. So that's great.
So beautiful, isn't it? Like, it all makes sense now. Yeah. And it's like, I didn't know any of that. And it is all falling in place. I feel fulfillment now, which is something I didn't feel even when I was an entertainer. That was all like for me. That was all for me, right? I would say, like,
no satisfaction in it, Ken. It's always empty. You might get a quick fix, and then I
gotta live with myself by myself. I gotta live. Love is coming in. My heart chakra is opening up. I understand what that is now. If people want real change, right? If your meditation practice alone is not what you give it a shot, right? Just give it a shot, right? Like, I mean, you guys offer free guided meditation. Just make a little donation, right? And or go to the retreat,
or
right?
Just go onto YouTube and play one of the videos. Yeah,
play one of the videos, which I do with every meditation. But my recommendation is go do it. My story is not going to be like yours. It's going to be different for everybody, but it's going to be, as you had mentioned, perfect for you, right?
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's a very important thing to say, because I don't want anybody, I don't know, I saw it happen again. Just, no, that's not, there's other beautiful stories of people within your group that I'm like, none of that shit happened to me. I just felt really great, and things just got better, and I learned lessons, and I processed those lessons. And that's one more thing I wanted to tell people, is that I thought the reason I did so many transmissions is like, oh, you're going to raise your level of consciousness. I was like, well, then why wouldn't anybody just blast themselves with transmissions all day until you get to 1,000? Right? And it don't work like that, because
there's no shortcut either, right? This stuff okay, so this stuff, it can accelerate it, right? But you can't bypass the human stuff either. You still have to do the healing. the human stuff still has to be addressed. Otherwise, you're just going to be, a mess. You may have an awakening, but your human is just going to be very messy. So you can't spiritual bypass this either with transmissions.
That's right. Spiritual bypassing is when you try to use spirituality to bypass real life things,
yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You don't need to look at it. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. So that's, we're not saying that. We're saying do your work, do therapy, get into ice baths, do Indian sweat lodges, do whatever you have to do to work on the human aspect. So
a very important note though, nonetheless, right? Because I think a lot of people, that was me. I was in a bad spot. My sister died and I was like so fucking depressed. I was trying to come off my SSRIs. I'm just done with all this, right? And I was like, well, maybe this Gareth guy and this Eva girl that he's telling me about, maybe they can do something to rack my brain. Because, when I was in the closet banging my head against the wall, I was banging my head against the wall trying to cause something to change it. The reason I did MDMA and mushrooms, like give me a ton, was because I was so done with it all. I was just like, I don't even care. And so I went to you guys like, I don't even care. I don't care if it's the most powerful force in the history of mankind. Let's blast it with it. Maybe something will change. And we
did an interview last week with Julie, and she made a statement I thought was really nice, and it just came into my awareness there. It was like, when people have a breakdown, they're actually having a breakthrough. That's what's really happening. So to you, it might feel like you're having a breakdown, but you're actually breaking through something.
Yes, 100%. 1,000,000%. And that was shown to me. It was like, you need to have this happen to you. It was shown to you as well, right? It needed to happen to you for you to evolve, right? And that's
our
part
stories
of the game.
Are very, very similar, Ken. Very, very similar. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, drawn to you. Yeah. You too, Eva. You too, Eva.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the amount of messages that I get from people like, I just got out of an Eva meditation and this is changing, and like, oh, it's getting even stronger and more powerful. And so, which is why I wanted to come on this podcast, because I think that you guys are, for the world to heal, we need to have actual, real, legit healers out there, right? Because I think people are confused about what is and what isn't. And I am here to say that this is real and this is legit.
A good way of developing your own intuition, right? And your own meter around teachers is how that teacher makes you feel when you're in their presence, right? If you come away feeling peace and you feel nice energy, then that teacher has something to offer you, right? They may not be perfect, but they might be perfect for you at that moment in time.
Mm-hmm.
Ken, we are people, we are human, and we, we're like everybody else. So,
but about 20%, I think Eva had said.
So I guess this is probably a good place to wrap this up, Eva. Or is there anything that you'd like to?
Yeah, I want to say thank you so much, Ken. So first, for your really kind words, and
Ken.
that you got so much out of working with us, and that you share all of this in this podcast, so that a lot of people will probably relate to your story, or they can, they just know, okay, there is somebody who just got into all of this and went through quite a hard time, but there were people helping and guiding and so on. And yeah, so thank you very much for sharing, and I think it's very valuable. And yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I agree that people can see that there's a human here who has a life and real human relationships and stuff that's going on in the background, and has a business and all these things that happen to you along your journey, Ken. So you're really relatable to a lot of people. So I think that's really important too. And it's been, such a fun podcast. What great energy you have.
And your story, Ken, is such a unique story and full with learnings, wisdom, realizations. So very, very great. Thank you for sharing. Really,
and a life well lived, Ken. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
You've packed a lot in.
For 5 years in Korea.
And guys, listening in, I hope you enjoyed this one. Really fun.
Yeah, thank you everybody for listening.
Thank you so much. Thank you.